I think everybody has that person, that one that they still wonder about, that lives unblemished by reality. But they're a mirage, sweetie. Yeah. There was this beautiful painting of a girl in Zurich that hung in the recesses of my mind. And then there was your mother that I hugged and loved. Listen to her belly laughs. Don't trade a faded portrait for real love.
Thank you for doing this.
Sure.
I felt like, with your schedule with Matlock, we just had a hard time we had a few things come up that you couldn't do and whatever. And I just started interviewing some of the cast members just because it's kind of nice and fun to talk about the
Yeah,
movie in a context we haven't really
absolutely.
been able to. And so it's great to be able to do it with you. So thanks for squeezing me in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for reaching out.
How have you been?
I've been good. Yeah. We're kind of finishing our second season on Matlock. I been working a lot on it the last few weeks, and I have one more day to complete it, and then it's a bunch of promotional stuff for it. And we have our
Good.
third season coming up.
It's
So I'm looking
amazing.
forward to that.
Congratulations
Yeah,
on that.
thanks.
That's so much fun. Has it been a fun project to do?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're a really wonderful cast. Kathy Bates, who's our leader, she and I worked together maybe 25, 30 years ago. So we've known each other a
Did
long
you?
time. And she's really,
What
really
did you work with her on 20 years, 25 years ago?
I can't even remember the name of the film. It was a long time ago, an indie movie about boats. I remember that. That's about all I can remember.
But you kind of get to be the villain in this show, right?
Well, I never know. It's funny. Jenny Erman, our wonderful showrunner, likes to keep it pretty close to the vest. She will not tell me everything that's coming up, and kind of a bad guy. But then she likes to fool you and the audience by, you think one thing's going to happen and then something else happens. So who knows? I could turn out to be a good guy, but I think for now, I
So you're
think I'm
bad, but we're
probably a
not sure how
bad
bad.
guy.
So, let's go back to you and I. First of all, I kept telling you that I did the movie with your son, and I was going through a box of old photos the other day, and look what I found. Can you see this?
Oh yeah, there's old Jordo. Yeah,
Isn't that cute? It was
yeah,
such a fun movie, that movie,
yeah,
New Suit.
yeah. He enjoyed working with you on that one. He's
It was
doing
so much
great.
fun.
Yeah.
He's still on the Palm Royale, correct?
No, I think that's done. He he has a house in Topanga. I don't know if you realize that near me. So when he's
Oh,
here, you
nice.
see a lot of him. But he's also got a place in New York. That's where he is right now with two of my grandchildren, my adult
Good.
grandchildren, Lola and
Yeah.
Orson. And but yeah, I
And
love George. He's great.
obviously, the person that I talk about the most when we talk about our movie is you, because everybody knows who you are. And we were so lucky to have you be a part of Blue Eyed Girl. So, if you're willing, I'd love to just talk about that for a minute.
Let's do it.
Um,
Let's do it. I mean, I think one of the reasons that you talk about me is because I was portraying your dad, who was kind of
yeah.
the inspiration of your film. You
Yep.
told me that in the beginning, and that was one of the things that really got my attention. I love uh, stories about family. I always have. I've been drawn to them, and especially when it's a personal story, that really turned me on. And I think as we did it, that was a real important element to me in trying to, fill your dad's shoes in a way that help tell your story. That I wanted to do that.
Well, you did it and then some. And I mean, I've said to people like I think, when people say how you came on board, I'd love to hear your perspective, but my perspective is I went through a list of actors that would be like in the right demographic, and even people that were like really wonderful, hugely famous actors would be lucky to get. I'm like, I don't, they just don't seem like right. And then I got to your name. I'm like, well, that's it. It has to be Beau. And if he says no, we can't make the movie. And then, we were so lucky. We sent you the script and then we offered it to you and I wrote you a letter. And then I think, as I recall, you said yes really quickly, which I was so grateful for. And it helped us so much to attract other actors because, people know who you are and respect and admire you. So, is that your memory as well?
Pretty much. I mean, like Will Shakespeare said a long time ago, the play is the thing, and I think you wrote a great script, and I related to that and wanted to be a part of it when I read it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I know that obviously our movie um deals with the themes of life and commitment and marriage and love and all of its versions and family, and I have been so struck by you and your wife. I mean, you guys, how many years have you been married?
I think, starting to lose track now, but I think it's at least 42, 43 years, and we've been together, almost 50.
It's
And,
amazing.
yeah, and I also, you know, enjoyed that aspect of the story of family supporting one another in good times and bad, and also the whole idea that you made an important part of the story is that no matter how old you get, you don't want to shut yourself off from the experience of living life, and you want to be open to all
Oh,
things. And so you have these two older people, myself and my nurse, portrayed by the wonderful Lisa Gay, and they enjoy this incredible friendship, that is beautiful, and they allow themselves to be open to it and to enjoy it and to dance with one another and all of that.
yeah.
And that's huge. And I think a lot of people, getting old, my mom used to say getting old is not for sissies, it's not easy for a lot of different
It's not.
reasons. And and but that doesn't mean that you can't continue to enjoy life, and in some cases enjoy it even more because you know you do lose some of your physical attributes, but because of your experience, you can understand more maybe about life, and your choices maybe are a little better than they were
Yeah.
when you were younger.
Or a lot better, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because that has been by far the most standout response from the audiences has been that they've been inspired, I guess, by the feeling of like, midlife and on, there can be a really big feeling of just like, well, it's too late for me now. I'm just going to throw in the towel. Like it's just, if you don't crush it by 35, 40, 45, you may as well just give up and, be done with life. And that's so sad. And so I think people really responded to the fact that my character in midlife is kind of feeling so stuck and kind of unsticks herself by the end. And then similarly, you guys, that you're kind of lonely and feeling stuck after the loss of your wife, and it does kind of, meeting Lisa Gay's character, and she's stuck in a lot of grief, and the two of you come together. And yeah, I think it's been probably the most important part of the movie for me has been seeing that that's actually helped people feel like, okay, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe we don't have to be done. Maybe there's a next chapter, and how do you reinvent yourself and all of that.
Yeah, I think I may have talked to you about this, but a tradition in our family begun by my mom when I was a kid was reading this little magazine called The Daily Word that comes out,
Hmm.
and it's put out by a Church of Unity, which is encompasses all sorts of religions, and so each day there's a word, and then there's a little brief talk about the word, and then it ends with a quote from the Bible. And today's word was abundance, and it was all about how the fact that we we have an abundance of opportunities that are available to us, natural ones through just nature, and then man-made
Hmm.
ones, relationship ones, and we have this, all of us have this divine mind that is capable of embracing all these abundant opportunities. But
Hmm.
sometimes you get caught up in the small things and you don't see all this huge opportunity that's there every single day. And no matter what your
Completely.
circumstances are, and if you're open to it, you can enjoy these, no matter where you sit. And your film is about that.
It is about that. And it is, I mean, look at you. I feel like you're having a really, really great section of your career right now, which is pretty awesome. I remember when we first were talking to you, I looked up your IMDb and your first credit, you were like a month old. So
I
you've
was
had
kind of,
a long career.
yeah, I was carried through as a baby machine then, but I guess it started when I was, I guess, six, uh, when I had my first
Really? Like your first real acting job, you were 6?
role in a movie called Zamba, where I was saved by this giant gorilla named Zamba when I parachuted out of a burning airplane with my family. And he takes me to his cave and saves me from all the lions and stuff. It still
So
comes
was
up.
your dad in that movie? Is that how you ended up in it, or was it
No, I don't.
no?
I think it was a friend of our family, maybe, that was directing it. I don't know how I happened to get it.
Wow.
My mom says that I used to say that when I interviewed for the job, the director was very honest with me, and he said, "Now, Beau, you're going to be in there with, wild animals. There'll be lions and chimpanzees and different animals. You jump out of a burning airplane over Africa, your parachute gets hung up in a tree, and this gorilla will take you into his cave. Is this stuff that you think you can do?" And my mom said, I said, "Well, I think I can handle it. The only problem is jumping out of that burning airplane."
You're
It was
like, I'd
quite,
prefer to not be in a burning airplane.
it was quite an experience for a young kid. I
Oh
remember
my
it
gosh.
was
Well,
wild.
I had my kids in our movie. They weren't jumping out of any airplanes, but they were in our movie. And now I think they all have a taste of it. And they're all like, so when can I do my next movie? I'm like, give me a minute.
I remember the
Was
guy.
there ever a time that you thought you would do something besides acting, or was it always going to be acting?
Well, I've always loved sports, and I played
Oh,
basketball and baseball when I was in high school, and then in college. I played basketball, and I, had dreams probably at the age of 17 or 18 of maybe making athleticism my career as a coach or a player or something like that. But then I played at UCLA under some say the best coach that ever coached college basketball, John Wooden, and he became a mentor of mine for many different reasons. But my jump shot from the corner kind of faded by the time I got it became a sophomore, and I realized that I was going to be a pretty small fish in the pool. So I thought about other things. And then my dad, always seemed to love what he did. He was an
Yeah.
actor and a successful one, and seemed to really enjoy what he did. And he put me and Jeff and my sister, even my mom, in his shows. So
Mhm.
working with family was always something we did, and I liked that. And then I started to do. They had a lot of television series when I was in my 20s, that great opportunities for young guys to guest star and stuff. So I kind of learned my
Yeah.
chops that way, and I started to get more and more into it and realize, what a wonderful path it was. And I've never looked back. I'm so blessed to be doing this and telling the stories, being part of it.
It's the greatest job when you can stay working. It's a tricky business, right? I feel like I don't know what your experience has been, but I imagine that you've had to have a lot of resilience because even in at your level, there's been so many changes and ups and downs, but here you are starring on a show on, a really great show, by the way. I love it. And so, but I'm sure it's been an interesting road because I feel like for everyone, it's a crazy business.
One of my favorite things is the fact that I've always thought of it as a bunch of sort of little births and deaths, that you go through in your career, where
Yeah.
each job is kind of a birth, a beginning, an exciting
Yeah.
time. You're meeting new people that you're going to have a very close relationship with, and it's fantastic. And then it's kind of melancholy when that job is over and you say goodbye to these folks.
Oh,
Like, well, I don't
completely.
know if I'll see them again. Now you never
Yeah.
know. And now here we are talking to each other. What is it, about 2 years ago or something like that we did it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it does go on, but I think that's a good thing about what we do, because that is the nature of life. Is there are
Yeah.
beginnings and endings.
Yeah.
Nothing just continues. There's no straight lines. It's all kind of spirals, where it
No.
keeps changing and
I mean,
evolving.
to your point, what's great about our business is that you don't get bored. I mean, you're always kind of like chasing the next thing and starting a new thing, and then that thing ends, and then what's the next thing? It's not like I don't know, I've never been like, well, I know exactly what tomorrow's going to look like for the next 2 decades. And I think that's one of the things people in other jobs get kind of tired of. On the other hand, it's also the bad part of our business. You're like, oh my God, I would just love to know what's coming next year for once in my life, which is stressful, but it's also what we signed up for because that's kind of the thrill of the chase, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite books to read when I was back in the 60s growing up was The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts. And
I've never heard of that book. I must read it though.
it's an incredible book. Alan Watts was probably the first American to bring the whole Zen ideology from the East to the West. And he a series of great books. And the wisdom of insecurity basically was that all our lives, our parents and people in positions of authority tell us that to be have a contented life, that you must be secure in a job,
Yeah.
secure in relationships, and that you must find security. And how unfortunate, because that's not the way it works. The only thing that you can really count
Yeah.
on is that everything's going to change. So as soon as you can
Yeah.
jump into the river of change and embrace it and love it, then that's when you're going to find true happiness. The wisdom
Wow.
and security. Yeah.
Every actor needs to get that day one of their career. Like just
Yeah.
buckle up. But every human, you're right. It's like there's sort of this expectation when you're a kid that it's just supposed to plug along and all the right directions, and then you walk through life and you're like, oh, there's a lot of unexpected curveballs coming my way. I was
Yeah.
not warned of this in my directions, and it's complicated.
And a lot of them are wonderful curveballs, that really take you
Yeah,
places that in your wildest dreams, you thought you'd never get to. And,
yeah.
And even in the
Yeah.
work as an actor, I find more and more the older I get, when I was younger, I wanted so much to, make sure that I prepared hard for the scene, and I still do. I mean, I think you really need to know your lines and where you're coming from and all of that, but I would try to get into a pattern so that I know that I would be able to fill up this role. But
Yeah.
the more when you get in there and actually do it, the more you can release all that work that you've done before to prepare, give it up to God or whatever,
Yeah.
and the person, your scene partner, and let it all come out because it's going to
Yes,
change.
let it surprise you and kind of see what pops up, what feelings come up. Or
Yeah,
yeah,
it was fun working with you because, and I've been there where you were, where I've been in a movie and directing it, or you weren't directing it, but you wrote it and were
I
producing it.
didn't. No, I didn't direct it. Mills directed it, but yes, I had a lot on my plate because the kids were in it. You know,
Mhm.
it was it was in my hometown. It was a lot. I wrote it, obviously. There was a lot. I was in almost every scene. Thank God for the scenes with you and Lisa Gay because I wasn't in those.
Yeah,
But it was a lot. It was a big challenge.
yeah, I've been there, directing and acting in it and producing it. Also, I think one of the reasons that I have been able to sustain in my career and work is my wife, Wendy. The support I get from her is
Yeah.
quite incredible. And I think that's something that your film talks about too, how important that is to have the
Yeah.
support of a loved one with you. I mean, she's just amazing and not a person in the business, has my back. And when you have somebody like that in your life, I mean, that's priceless.
Your partnership is very inspiring because when you came out and did the film festival and spoke about her in front of all those people, it's just like every time I've really interacted with you, I just find your relationship to be so inspiring because you're just genuinely so devoted to each other. And I think everyone would strive to have that 40 some 50 years later. It's just a marvel, really, in this day and age, I think. You were the perfect person to be in our movie because that's really kind of what it is about. And I'm sure like every marriage, every life, every career has ups and downs, and you guys just like are really inspiring in terms of how in love and devoted you are.
It's good.
Do you remember telling me when I sent you the script and then you were learning that long monologue I gave you about the train station and all of that? Do you
What
remember how you told me that you went and practiced it?
did I
I
say?
think it's the best story. You
What
told me
did
that you went to dinner with with a bunch of your buddies and you didn't tell them that it was a monologue and you
I
just told the story to see how it went over.
Yeah, I do that with a lot of my work, and at least that was
You
kind
do?
of oh yeah, and at least that was kind of a lovely story. But sometimes I'll have a speech in a film where I'm like planning a murder or something, and I'll do the same thing, and they say, "What?" Yeah, because
Oh, that's funny.
I think why I like to do that is because when you're saying the speech to a friend who doesn't know that it's a speech from a film,
Yeah.
there's kind of added pressure, because you've tried to learn the lines, but you want to make
Yeah.
it seem so real that you fool them, So there's that going on. I do that all the time.
Well, by now they must be on to you when you're like, so I've been planning this murder.
Oh
They're
yeah, a lot
probably
of
like, I feel
okay.
like there's. Do you have like a favorite movie or character you've played in your career? I know that a lot of people come to you for acting advice. You made a movie with your daughter about it, but I was curious if there's something that stands out as a favorite.
Well, I really enjoyed doing the Fabulous Baker Boys because I got to do it with
Yeah.
my little brother, and and it was about brothers. That was a great experience, and for me, experience my brother in such a different way because being my little brother, you know, I mean, I was aware of all his work as an actor, and he had this immense success and everything. But I had known him, as my brother, and would tease him and give him shit all the time. And so to see him and experience him as my fellow actor was quite interesting. I remember when I went into the trailer the first day of work, and he was getting made up, and he had his hand out, and the makeup person was like dabbing his something on his hand, and we were piano players, so you'd see your hands. And
Yeah.
when I said, "What the hell is that? What are you doing?" And he said, "Never mind." I said, "A makeup person." I said, "What is he doing? What does he want there?" And she said, "He wants an age spot, a freckle on his hand." And I said, "Oh, geez." But he is, so specific and detailed in all his stuff.
That is fascinating.
Then he, before we started, said to me, one night we were drinking some wine and kind of partying, and about a week before we started, and he says, "I think you should really change your appearance in this part because people are used to seeing you in certain ways. And, you're a guy that is under a lot of pressure and stuff. And, I think you should have a receding hairline." And I said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to wear a bald pate. I've had to do that before, and that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Where they put
Yeah.
glue and all that stuff on you." I said, "I'm not going to
Yeah.
do it." And he says, "No, no, you don't have to." He said, "Just trim it a little bit here." Uh, and he said, "No, I can do it for you right now. If you want me to, you don't have to worry about it." And I said, "No." And he said, "Come on, just let me do it." So he got us, if I've got a trim thing, I'll just trim just a little bit right here. And I said,
I'm scared of the
"Okay."
story.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was terrible. And we were feeling no pain when he did it, and did it and just carved the shit out of my hair. And I had it, like this. And it took months after the movie was done for how your hair grows in all wiggly, and everything. Oh God.
So in the movie, your hair's like that?
Well, sort of, yeah, you'll see it. I have a receding hairline, and it did grow back a
Oh
little.
my gosh, that is a funny story. We were a few cocktails in and made a decision.
Another character I really enjoyed a lot, the story of a man that lived the experience. Your story was about your dad, and he wasn't here with us, so it was something memories of yours. But when I did, without warning, the James Brady story about the guy that was shot, he was the press secretary
Yeah,
under, and Jim was still alive when I did the movie, so I got to become friends with him and his family, and
really.
that was an incredible experience. And also, that one was a beautifully written script. Oh my gosh, that was a great experience. And his,
Really? I'll have to go watch it. I haven't seen it, but I'll go look for it.
yeah, because he was a guy that, when he had all his capacities, Jim uh, was beloved by both Republicans and Democrats. He was a Republican, and press secretary, but he reached across the aisles. He brought people together,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
amazing man. And then he's shot in the head and put in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, but it didn't stop him. Sarah Brady, was the head of all the attempt to get automatic weapons off the street and all that stuff. So getting to know them and being able to take his story, that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
what an amazing thing. And then he was able to see the finished film with you. I mean, that'd be
Oh
a
yeah.
kind of surreal moment.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
That was fun. Yeah. I remember when I first met him, I went to the White House because I wanted to experience a press secretary thing happening. And Jim was not the press secretary at that time, it was somebody else. So I'm sitting there in the press room, just listening to the guy do it. And suddenly the room falls silent and the doors open up and Jim wheels his wheelchair in there. And everyone went wild, seeing him and stuff. And then they told me not to talk about the project. It was supposed to be all hush hush. And so neither one of us did. But then he took me around the White House, when I was there. And we see her way down at the end of the hallway. And she says, Jim, hey, what's happening? And he rolls up with me behind him and he says, oh no, Barbara Bush, right? And he says, Barbara, he says, this is Beau Bridges. He's going to portray me in a movie about my life. And she says, you're too ugly to play the bear. So he would, from then on, he would call me the ugly bear all the time.
Ah, that's funny. Well, I will go look up that movie for sure. I'd love to see it, especially if it's, I mean, Fabulous Baker Boys is so legendary, and what a couple of funny stories you just told about that. I mean, I feel like people, do they know you the most for that movie, would you say? Is that kind of your most famous?
No, it's weird, I guess the one I get a lot of attention from is what I did Stargate, for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I got a lot of saluting me, because I was a
I just talked to Sam Trammell, and he was so funny because he's played the president twice on Homeland and then in the show he's on now. And he
Mhm.
said that he got exactly what you just said. Everywhere when he'd be on set, people were so deferential towards him and like would get out of
Yeah.
his way and treated him like he was the president. He's like, you guys know I'm acting, right? Pretty funny. Um, okay, so I just want to say thank you again for being a part of Blue Eyed Girl. I was going to part with some good news, which is that we just found out that our first month or two, I mean, far exceeded their expectations. Like it's doing really well on Amazon. The word is getting out. People are seeing it and loving it. So thank you for your help with, with all of that, with the movie. Like I said, I don't think we would have ever been able to pull it all together. Certainly not the cast we have without you being our linchpin for it all. So thank you for that.
Congratulations, it is doing so well, and it doesn't surprise me. I think it's a good movie. I think people will enjoy it
Thank you.
more of them that see
Thank
it.
you.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you. Well, thanks for talking to me today. It was so fun to see your face.
Good talking to you. Have a good evening.
Give my best to your beautiful wife and your son.
I will. Bye bye.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
When I close my eyes, I can see your life. Tiny embers set ablaze.